There it is. This is what I'm gonna show you guys. So I mean, this is extremely fucking significant, bro. Extremely significant. You gotta understand this shit, man. So if you guys don't know, last year probably one of the biggest rap beefs ever to happen in hip hop happened last year, and that was the long-awaited Drake and Kendrick battle, right? And they finally had their back and forth. Now, don't get me wrong, I always knew that people would be biased towards Kendrick, but I can remember before it really took off, I was having a conversation with my coworkers and whatnot. Now, one of them, real cool dude, you know what I'm saying? But like, yo, but as the beef has gone on, you starting to kind of see a certain look to the kind of people who adamantly defend Kendrick. And again, before this shit, I was a pretty big Kendrick fan. I always try to give Kendrick a chance. And but during this battle, I realized, you know what? I don't like your songs. I don't like a lot of your songs. I actually didn't really like your second album that much. I did for Kendrick. I just like the songs I like. I can't really say the albums are masterpieces or they're all like great albums. It's more like I like the songs I liked. For the second album, when Cole made that point about like your second drum was ass, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I guess you're right. Because a lot of the music that Kendrick made, I actually after Section 80, I felt like Good Kid, Mad City. I thought it was well produced. I thought it was a fluid album, and I thought it was a nice sounding album. I thought it was something that was respectable. It was. I just saw this. All right, well maybe because again, even at that point, I wasn't grading his album based off of these songs are fire. I love these songs. Even like Watch the Throne. I didn't love every song on there, but every song grew on me. And the reason why it grew on me, pause, is because the production was flawless on every track. The flows and what they're talking about is flawless. Might be simple, but it's flawless. And I liked it based off of the first impact, how it sound, how it made me feel. It wasn't me having to meet. You never had to meet Hove and Jay that much halfway. Sometimes some of these songs may have to grow on you. Maybe you may have to hit the album a few times. And yo, listen, people felt the way about Yeezus. When Kanye made Yeezus, yo, that was crazy. He was so far ahead of his time. And at that time, when he was dumbing his raps down, he was heavily criticized for that. Because at that time, it felt like he was dumbing his raps down, and that's because he actually wrote the raps on the album. And what's crazy now is the way niggas rap now, the way Kanye's rapping on Yeezus sounds like not high level lyrics, but it sounds lyrical. It sounds high quality. Okay. But anywho, so if you guys don't know, Drake has been pursuing a defamation case against UMG. Now this is a high stake game that Drake is playing. Drake is worth a lot of fucking money. So he's been trying to renegotiate his contract for a long time. And he believes that they put extra money in promoting the song Not Like Us, and not only that, promoting it in a way to make sure that the public perception is that these things are true. Because the reason why Not Like Us is problematic is because the song is mostly about, for one, demonizing Drake for being biracial, for having a white mother and a black father, and which is the craziest shit in the world, which is the most racist shit in the world. And y'all niggas listen to that record and say, yo, that's righteous. Another reason why y'all niggas will never have nothing. And I'm gonna get into our problems with comprehension in the future. Also, the song is problematic because the song is largely about and is largely about. I'm sorry, the song is largely about Drake being a man who enjoys defiling and touching and being intimate with young children, all while never having not one victim ever claim he's ever done anything like that. What people keep referring to is the young woman that he pulled on stage when he was 20, I'm sorry, 25. 25, I think he was 26 at the time. And he did not know how old the young girl was and everything. And, he asked, oh, how old are you? He's like, I'm 16. He's like, oh, wow, I didn't know. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, all right, well, here's the hug, because it was just awkward. I think he just didn't know what to do. If any artist would have done that, if there's only one person who would have pulled a 16-year-old on stage and not flinched, not thought twice, and fully played it off. And that man is not normal. His name is R. Kelly. It's the remix to Ignition, my nigga. You understand?
You're not getting it. It's not talking to you. It's not talking to you that I'm standing on business, is it? You're not getting it.
So a part of that claim is that UMG spent a lot of money that Drake made for them to promote this record to also bring Drake's stock down ahead of the negotiation deal. Because listen, for what it's worth, how can I say it? This has been a hindrance, but I don't think people don't realize it's not really a damaging thing to Drake. It's more so people making more. It's more so people making content about Drake and making content about Drake falling off and this and that. It's really a lot of this beef has been based off the narratives made by content creators. But now we're dealing with the real world and the fact that okay, no, Drake was actually dead right. So Kendrick Lamar has lost 957 million listeners since February and counting. Motherfuckers want to tell me that we still in the dot era when it looks like Kenny pretty much in the exact same piston or position he was in before the beef. So either people are tired of him or it's just bot central neutralized. So Spotify has been making it a point to make sure that they purge the platform of all listeners, right, and all plays that are not authentic plays. So you can see in this picture right here, as of March 2nd, Kendrick Lamar had 1.76 billion monthly listeners on Spotify. Drake had 1.57 billion. At this point, people are saying that Drake has fallen off and the nigga has 1.57 billion monthly listeners. For someone who put out music in 2009, for a nigga that's 39 years old, about to turn 40, right? That is no small feat. But here we are. One day ago, Drake is at 1.5 billion monthly listeners. Okay? Kendrick is at now, so Kendrick has lost almost a billion listeners. So Kendrick is now at 803 million listeners, and he keeps losing them. So that can mean one of two things. It could mean that those listeners were people who maybe were playing the record, but more than likely that wasn't the case. Over the course of the beef, right, we saw, first of all, we never even seen Kendrick's name next to numbers. We never even known what Kendrick's numbers are until the beef. People don't understand how much social media and key players in the media had to do with how the beef was perceived. If someone who has a platform as big as the Joe Budden podcast says Dot is killing this nigga, a lot of people will be inclined to think, well, he's a straight shooter. He knows hip hop. He knows what he's talking about, but they miss it. You missed one thing. It's not
getting it. It's not talking to you. It's not talking to you that I'm standing on business. Is it? You're not getting it.
It's not. Joe Budden is an ex-rapper. Joe Budden, listen, I love Joe Budden, but he didn't have the most successful career because Joe Budden never developed sensibility when it comes to music. And in a lot of ways, Kendrick is only a little bit better because Joe Budden is a great lyricist and everything, right? And I don't think that he made bad music. He just didn't know how to make hot music. He didn't know how to make music that felt, and it was mostly because the music didn't feel good. And real talk, now that I'm doing my thing again, I realize how important it is to have the right beats or have the beats that got motion. Cause like, listen, I've never wanted to rap on trap beats or rap on trap beats. Nigga, I got mad beats on trap. I got mad songs on trap beats. I'm about to give y'all mad like this bangers over the trap beat. But it's important because I'm like, yo, these are the kind of beats that I can move a crowd with. It's the kind of beats that if you heard this shit, you could vibe with it because it sound current. It sounds like it's supposed to happen. It sounds somewhat familiar, right? But the production, you can get with the production first. It's so important. And Joe never had them kind of joints that you can ride to and get active to and really nod your head like, shit is fun. He never had that kind of shit. A lot of Joe's music, again, was like him being in his own head. He just never developed that hit making quality, even though it seemed as though it was there. And it wasn't that far off. He just didn't know how to make records that had that replayability. It had records that had parts to it that you wanted to repeat. All right. I think mostly because he just wasn't really focusing on that. A lot of that shit has to do with the stubbornness of an artist. And Joe talked about that too. How stubborn you have to be an artist and have to keep rapping, keep singing, keep being a part of something. But anyway, so this is going back to the Kendrick and Drake thing. This is a pivotal moment. So now we're starting to see what's going on because again, this is Drake without the machine. Drake does not have the help of the machine behind him, and Drake is still the most talked about. He has more impressions than ever. Matter of fact, hey Google, how many impressions has Drake had on social media in the last year?
No reliable public data exists to calculate the total social media impressions for Drake over the past year. Social media impressions are a metric tracked privately by platforms.
Okay. How many impressions has Drake had on YouTube?
Drake has over 20 billion total video views on his official YouTube channel.
Oh, okay, that's not my question. Anyway, the point being is more than ever, people are mentioning Drake's name on Twitter, on all social media platforms. So more than ever, Drake is probably more famous and more popping than he's ever been. Whether or not you hate on him or not, and that's not thing about success. Because the way that black people talk about this beef shows us who's smart and who's not. Even with the suit, right? With the black people who want to basically take up for Kendrick and also pretty much get into the group thing, right? The group mindset thing, right? Those are the kind of people who are being willfully ignorant or have no comprehension. Because, it's also, you also can call it maybe it's a lack of pride in yourself. Because why would you want me to think that you're so stupid that you don't understand, that you can't read the fucking suit? You only gotta read one caption. People have explained this shit in detail. He is not suing Kendrick Lamar because he lost the battle. Nigga, he's suing the label for putting money behind the record that's about him being a PDF file. And your argument, these people's argument has been, if someone accuses you of something heinous, that's actually a criminal offense that will make you a social pariah for the rest of your life. You have the right to defend yourself. Also, if Drake didn't do anything, that would mean that it's true, wouldn't it? But Kendrick has not even made a statement saying, I had never put my hands on my wife, because he rapped about it before. Got songs about it. He hasn't made a statement saying both those kids are my kids. There's been no statement from nobody. Matter of fact, yo, they had to find a picture of him with them damn kids at the goddamn Super Bowl. Because people stuck. I noticed that myself. I'm like, yo, you know how you do? You just randomly see people with their kids, or you see a picture of them with their kids, and people say, oh, look at the picture with Kendrick out with his family. Yo, they gotta pull up a picture from years ago. It's the same one where he's kneeling down, when he had the long braids, and he's smiling next to the kids, and they're still very small. Like from a few years back, whereas it's countless videos online of Drake with his kids. So anyway, this shit coming to a head, man. But I wanted to get to one of the more later developments and whatnot. Let's see what we got here. I think I covered this already, right? So basically, UMG has provided some of the documentation that Drake and the legal team was looking for. So UMG Recordings has provided Drake's legal team with Kendrick Lamar's 22-page recording contract. However, UMG Recordings provided it with most of the information redacted and unreadable. Why is that? Why is that? I was thinking, like, goddamn, why are they going back to 2009? I'm gonna show y'all one more post, and we're gonna go ahead and get into it, man. Let's see what we got. Hold on, is it right here? Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and exit out. This is the next point right here. In addition to the motions to compel filed, Drake's legal team filed a 76-page declaration which contains a plethora of information, notably a request of UMG Recordings to produce all documents related to paternity of children and domestic violence allegations concerning Kendrick Lamar. Okay, so we're gonna keep it going. I'm gonna go to like the latest post, and we're gonna kind of stop there, okay? So my man Kev Talk says for the K bots crying about Drake demanding to see Kendrick's history of alleged domestic violence against Whitney, Drake is also offering discovery from January 1st, 2009 to 2025 of any documentation related to his criminal history, including background checks and reports. He was called a pedophile, a snitch, accused of fathering a secret daughter, and being a registered sex offender. These documents will prove he is none of those things. Can Kendrick say the same? So what Drake is basically saying is that you can do a background check, you can investigate me all the way to 2009. He's opened up his whole life to say, hey, listen, y'all can go ahead and pull up everything. Because what he wants to get into is that incident in 2014 with that white girl. I guess that was his John he's messing around with, but they got into it and he beat the hell out of that girl. I showed you guys a video of that. And that event, that whole thing was suppressed to the point where no one, I didn't even know that happened. I had no idea that actually happened, right? And we gotta ask ourselves, why was the label protecting him like that? And I was asking myself the same thing. And now I'm starting to understand what Drake is talking about. What Drake is trying to get at is the fact that the label always planned for Kendrick to be the one to try to take Drake out. If Drake should ever get to a point where he is too powerful, right? Too popping, they are going to do everything they can to take him out. And they always figure, well, if we keep building up Kendrick, then whenever we need to, basically to destroy Drake, to bring Drake down, or give him the kind of opponent that can at least damage his image, Kendrick will be the one. Okay? And I want to show this old clip. I want to show you guys the clip from Willie Drake's original response to Control. Actually, I have it right here. I want to show you his original response to Control. So Control was a verse that was on a Big Sean song with Jet Electronica back in the day. Now, honestly, Big Sean and Jet Electronica's verse actually were very good verses, but they got overshadowed. Now, the verse was never really that great of a verse, really. It was more so about the climate of hip hop and where things were at that moment. Okay, where was that clip at? Let me see. No, I just had it, man. But anyway, it was mostly about where the climate of hip hop was, and I ain't gonna lie. By that point, hip hop had gotten to be very friendly, and people, because you got to realize by this point, we had less artists who went through the gauntlet and went through the training of becoming a real rapper, where you had battles on the block, in the street, in the club. You've had to freestyle and go through the things that create your voice and your live performance. Battling people and freestyling and doing ciphers and rapping for people live and performing at shows, that's what builds up your delivery and makes you a better artist, right? And it teaches you how to hone your delivery and hone your instrument, because your voice is your instrument. But by that time, you had a lot of people who were completely manufactured, people who weren't even really artists, they weren't even really rappers, they just were someone who just simply had the look and had a little bit of the voice, and they got with someone who could produce them, right? And a lot of people became more famous for their aesthetics, for their online presence rather than just their talent. So it was a whole different climate. So it was really special that when, so it wasn't even special, it was just that it was just something to talk about, right? Now by this point, blogs became more of a factor. These sites complex, so this is before, now YouTube was very much popping, but YouTube wasn't always the go-to, because this is before everyone had a smartphone where they could always be plugged into the internet and plugged into these apps. You know what I mean? Because around 2014, that's when your phone, that's when the internet was always the shit. Internet was always super duper important, but that's when it got to a point where, yo, if I can get to you on that phone, then I can get to you. Hove went platinum in 5 minutes by basically selling his album to Sprint and letting Sprint basically give you the album for free. I think if you bought one of their phones, or if you were a Sprint carrier, you got the album for free. You know what I'm saying? So Hove made $5 million. So he went platinum in 5 minutes. You understand? And that was one, I think, was a crazy example of understanding how the technology works. You understand? So during this verse, he basically just says everyone's name. He's not really saying the craziest verse, honestly. But the most important name he said, the only name that mattered at the time was Drake. And I think for Drake, what Drake understood at that time was, I'm a bigger artist and I make bigger and more important music, and I'm the one actually keeping the lights on. And even you can really hear it in the music too, where he's talking about. And I remember in the interview he mentioned this. He mentioned that it's always weird for guys to try to give me advice or talk to me as if, you know, again, as if they have information or advice that I need when they need me for a feature. And he's like, yo, it's like, bro, I know I'm the big homie. You understand? And this verse right here can actually serve as proof that this was always the plan. They were just waiting for the right minute, the right moment, right? And this label in the industry has spent a long time building Kendrick Lamar up and make sure that he gets all types of looks. The Pulitzer Prize, for what? It's not a thing. Doesn't mean you got no, man, no.
Who wanna fight? Who wanna fight? Who wanna fight?
So this is Drake's response, right? So I think Drake at that time, Drake understood that, yo, if I was to respond to you and go back and forth with you, only thing I was going to do was open myself up to, for one, it would help him. It would elevate his status. You know what I'm saying? Because again, whenever people see you as the big dog, if anyone else can put the smallest dent in your armor or give you the least bit of smoke, people will try to tell you that, oh, basically they smoked you, they beat you, they're better than you. You know what I mean? You're past your prime and shit like that. And I think that this really, even with this verse right here, if it wasn't for blogs needing content to post, it would have never even been framed that really as much of a diss that it was. All right, and so Drake, this is Drake's response to that shit.
But I'm trying to murder you niggas, trying to make sure your core fans never heard of you niggas.
It just wasn't real to me. It's like I saw him after that, and it was just like love. So it's like, was that real or was that just like for the people?
I think it's a sparring kind of.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, then let it be real. Then I mean, because those were harsh words, right? I personally enjoy making like great music and bodies of work over like being talked on Twitter for like 5 minutes.
And what Drake was saying at that time, because of what it was, because like, yo, Drake is the top dog at that point, and not only that, gotta realize his perspective on Kendrick is, niggas only know you, niggas only heard this verse because of me. Even at that point, and Kendrick really has been tied to Drake his whole career, and he's always needed Drake. He has been throwing subs at Drake, trying to bait Drake into a battle for the longest time. And was always crazy. And I always felt like Drake would smoke Kendrick in the battle because Kendrick is not really a bar for bar nigga. Kendrick is good at verse composition and doing cadences and flows and being experimental. And really, that shit had an era. That era is really over. Because you notice that he hasn't been rapping that way in a long time. But overall, yo, so things are coming to a head, pause. And I think that we getting ready to find out a lot of information. Are you ready for the tea? I'm ready for the tea, man. But anyway, who wanna fight?
Who wanna fight? Who wanna fight? Who wanna fight?
All right, man. Before we go,
Who wanna
some of you niggas ain't real. We out of here, man. We done. All right, we're done. Oh no! What's going on? I'll press the button. Press it again.
I want your body. If you love me, let me get your body.
All right, we out of here.